everybody, a warm welcome to Wisdom from North, the place for accelerated inner growth and empowerment. I'm Janneke, and if you are new to my channel, a warm welcome here. Today, I am here with Waxéla Sananda, who is the best-selling author of the Love You Crave, and she's also an Ascension Trainer, passionate about helping people achieve a greater level of consciousness. And coming up in February, she's having an amazing summit, the Alchemy of Ascension, where she's interviewing 22 leading thought leaders and experts on this topic. And I'm super honored to be part of that. And it's totally free to be part of. The link is right below, and I really encourage you to be part of it because it will really help you propel your spiritual work forward. And I also like to mention that I'm also having a free event coming up in February. That is the Soul's Calling online retreat, and that is for you who feel like something is whispering inside, for you to open up to something more, that there's something more you feel like you are destined to be doing or opening up to. And here we will really delve into an 8 days journey together, exploring what our soul's calling might be. And it's totally free, and it will bring on some of my passionate and beautiful masterclass teachers that I collaborate with that will also guide you along the way. So the sign up is right below to both the summit and the Soul's Calling event. So February is going to be an amazing month for spiritual growth. Now, over to my beautiful guest today. Hi, Waxela. I'm not sure if I pronounced it correctly. Right. A warm welcome. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much, Janneke. It's such a pleasure to be on your show. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you, and just the spirit of knowledge that you bring through. I love your interviews. I love watching your show, and I'm really honored to be a guest on your show. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited about this conversation because, as always, I do research before my interviews. And this time I went into your Instagram and I saw that you have many videos there where you are bringing up different topics. And I found some topics very exciting to delve into today, and that I actually haven't covered so much before. And maybe we get time to speak a bit about your summit as well. But I want to delve into some of the topics that you mentioned, and that was spiritual bypassing that I found very interesting. And because you had a comment on your Instagram account, someone asking you, didn't know too much about your work, and you brought up this topic of spiritual bypassing. And somehow I feel it's a bit important to speak about. So first, can you say from your perspective, what is a spiritual bypassing?
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you for asking about that. So in any spiritual work, there is this, we're connecting to information. And there's this getting in your head that happens because you're absorbing information. It's very intellectual. And then we tend to go up. We go up to connect to our divinity. We connect to the higher self and the higher frequencies. And that's wonderful. That's an important piece, but that's only half of what we need to do. The next piece is the embodiment, and that is bringing the information into the body and receiving those frequencies and being able to evolve. And the thing is, you can only really do the embodiment alongside of your trauma release, of shadow work. You have to go through the yucky stuff. Like, you have to go through the dark to get to the light, basically. So spiritual bypass is when you're just going to the light. You're not doing the shadow clearing. You're avoiding, you're bypassing doing the hard stuff, the trauma release, and getting, excavating. I call it excavating the dark seed. And my book goes into all of the steps of the process of doing this process from opening up your mindset all the way through to, and the embodiment of the divine. And within that, there is this excavation that has to happen. And, you know, it's not a one-time thing that, oh, you know, I had this traumatic experience as a child and now I've cleared it and now I'm done. I mean, that'd be nice. And maybe for somebody they can do it that quickly. But for most of us, it's an ongoing process where you keep having things come up. You keep getting triggered, and you have to go into that and notice and be willing to get curious, be willing to look at your triggers, look at why is that bothering me? Why am I feeling hurt by what that person did? Why, you know, and why do I get angry about things? And then you look at those things and you open up and you work with them until you become familiar enough with them that you can actually release them. And then once you've released them, you can recode them and you can bring in a new, a better feeling experience when that trigger shows up. And with practice, you can completely recode the whole situation. But with spiritual bypass, you're just going straight for the high, good feeling, happy, enlightenment vibes, but that's not really going to bring you enlightenment. It's going to bring you maybe a thinking that you have it, but you can't embody without doing that, that shadow work too. So I hope that explains. Spiritual bypass is just not doing all your work, really. You know, you've got to be able to be well-rounded in your spiritual work and be willing to confront the hard stuff and release those traumas in order to really bring in those high vibes. And that's where the magic is, because once that trauma work is done, and it's not done, but once you've done a certain amount of it, you open up the space from within so that you can receive these, I call them the ascension codes, but the embodiment of the divine within our cellular structure, within our DNA, and we start to feel it. And it's the bliss, you know, it's the love, it's those enlightenment feelings that everybody desires, everybody craves. It's the love you crave, you know, and that transforms us from the inside out. But it's not a quick process, and it's a lifelong process. I mean, I've been working on this for almost 30 years now, and I'm not anywhere near done. You know, I'm on my journey just like everybody else is, and I enjoy the journey because we become multidimensional within our bodies when we do this work. And that's so fun to play and explore from a multidimensional knowing of the self.
Wow, I love how you explain that. Beautiful. And I so agree. And I think I even went into a lot of spiritual bypassing many years ago. I really thought that being spiritual meant that I couldn't be angry, meant that, oh, you know, I have to be spiritual. People look at me as spiritual and I'm not spiritual enough. And I had this disharmony in a sense with who I felt I should have been since I was interested in spirituality, that I was afraid that others would judge me because I wasn't spiritual, because then I was supposed to be all about love and light, and that it didn't make sense on the inside. And then when I learned that, whoa, it's about embracing everything, it's embracing who you are, and maybe I have suppressed anger, which I did. In my journey, I've had a lot of suppressed anger. And sometimes that is what comes up when you start the spiritual journey, when you really started doing the work. Maybe you get super angry. Like I went to the school with one of my teachers, Marit Reitan, and there we are cross-crawling on the floor like babies. It's an exercise we're doing, and we do it very, very slowly because that stimulates the back of the brain, the subconsciousness, and part of the brain. So that brought up a lot of things. I was like cross-crawling for like 7 weeks and 7 minutes every day, super slowly, and emotions came up, which they're supposed to, but that was good. So it's then about not judging that when it comes up, but thinking, oh, good, like life is for me now, something is happening. So so I think that's important. I'd love to speak about another subject that you brought up, which is lack consciousness. And I think that is something that so many of us are experiencing and have experienced and are perhaps struggling a bit with, because we're coming from the Industrial Revolution, where it was all about, lack and working hard and working hard. And all of a sudden, maybe there's a totally new perspective that makes it much easier for us to receive than we think. So can you talk a little bit, because I know that you've experienced that lack consciousness as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And lack consciousness it's not just about money. It's about deservingness. It's when you hold yourself apart from being able to receive, basically. It's like, a lot of spiritual people, we give, we're givers, we're comfortable giving, but not so much receiving, or we'll push away because there's this worthiness thing. And lack consciousness can be in the way of our receiving. It can be in the way of our prosperity. It can be in the way of a lot of things. It can create a lot of blocks in our lives. So the lack consciousness is a mindset. And in order to work with it, you have to be able, again, to go into your past. It could be from your personal past, from your childhood. Like you said, maybe you were raised by a family that had that lack consciousness embedded in it. It can be ancestral. It can be handed down through generations and society. And then there's also this, it's pervasive in things that people say, like money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard to make anything out of yourself. What is that one? Poverty, something about poverty being better than being wealthy. Like there are all these sayings embedded in the language of the culture that has people be in lack consciousness. And it depends on what you align with, but it's important to know that you can, with mindset work, you can release that lack consciousness. And so in a nutshell, the way that you do that, first you have to recognize it, and you recognize it by looking at, where am I blocked in my life? Is it my income? Is it my relationships? Is it, some other part of my world? Am I not able to receive in some way? And you just notice it, you write it down, you pay attention to where it's showing up so you can recognize it. And then when you've got a handle, when you understand where it's coming from, you know that that's a program that you have within you. You want to reprogram that mindset. And so you're making a choice to do that. So it becomes conscious. It's no longer in your subconscious. And I always say, when you recognize a trigger or something like that, it goes from your subconscious, which is like it's behind you, to now it's in front of you. And when it's in front of you, you can look at it and work with it. You can see it. When it's behind you, you can't. So celebrate when something comes up. Celebrate when you get triggered and you notice it and you catch yourself noticing it, because, oh, hey, now I can work with it. That's a good thing. That's a success. So you go into working with your mindset around it, and you think about, what do I want? What do I prefer? What is the better feeling thought? And there are many techniques you can do to go from where you are to where you want to be. And again, that's the step-by-step in my book that I wrote about, because that is the Ascension training. But you can recode those programs. Those programs, if you think of this reality like the Matrix, or like an encoded, almost like we're inside of a computer game, the coding exists everywhere. And our bodies and our DNA hold that coding, and that's COD, not COT, or COAT, but the code is something we can work with when we're conscious of it, like programming a computer. Our bodies are like that. So we can get into the back, like hack the computer program and put in the codes that we desire. But you can't just overwrite some other code without getting into it, recognizing where it exists, recognizing the havoc that it's having on your life, and then you choose something else, something better, and do the work that it takes to get you to that better place.
Makes sense. So in a way, it's not a quick fix to think that, okay, I have this retreat I want to go to, but I can't afford it. Well, let me not be in a lack mindset. Let me just think that I can afford it. Like that will be a too easy way?
It depends on, it depends on how much resistance you have built up to that. Like, okay, so if there's a retreat, we use that example. If there's a retreat you want to go to and your heart is a yes, your heart's like, yeah, I really want this. But your mind and the bank account that you're looking at says, no, I can't afford it. I don't have enough whatever that I need, or I can't take time off work, or whatever that is. Know that you can afford anything you want. Money is not even real. Money is an idea. It's a program. So, and this is a conversation I get into with clients a lot because it comes up because we're used to looking at the reality that's in front of us and believing that it's true, but it's not true. And you put that there anyway so that you could overcome it, right? So you want something, you want to retreat, and you want to learn and grow, you know, in that retreat, or maybe you just need a break and you know in your heart that it's right for you, then you can have that if you let yourself have that. You have to say yes to yourself. It can be that simple, but you also, you know, usually it's not. You have to work with the resistance that comes up. So think of it like this. If you got sick or someone in your family got sick, and there was an emergency and you had to have an emergency hospital visit, that's expensive. Nobody can really afford that, right? It could be thousands of dollars, at least here in the US. It could be tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands if there's a surgery involved. Nevertheless, you find a way because it's important. If you have to have an emergency surgery, you'll find the money, or you'll make a payment plan, or you figure out. You ask family, you find a way. People do fundraisers, whatever. You find a way to pay for it because you really need that. You know, if there's something for your business that you really, really need, maybe you need a new computer or a piece of equipment that's a few $1,000s, but it's not in your bank account. You finance it, or you find a way, or you ask someone, I really, really need this thing. So you say yes to those things. Like for me, I find where I say yes to myself and where I say no to myself. I have had a habit of saying yes to my business expenses because I can, in my mind, it makes sense to me. I'm an entrepreneur. I need whatever, a new computer. I need a new this or that. I can afford that. I can finance it if I need to. Usually it's a training, a coach, whatever. I will find the money for it if I really want to, right? But if it's something like a vacation or a massage, or, you know, something that I don't in my mind make a priority, then I'll be like, oh, I can't afford that. But I'm like, wait a minute, I can afford it if I want it, right? So I get to catch that and notice. So it can be easy if we let it be, but usually there's resistance in the way. And so it's like recognizing, where's that resistance? What do I really want to say yes to? And then it's as simple as saying yes to it once you get to that point.
Makes sense. And this is connected to manifestation. And when it comes to manifestation, there are many perspectives on that as well. And I saw a video with you where you gave some tips that it could be good to have when you visualize, to have like this detailed, have as much details as possible in your imagination. What I want to ask in relation to lack consciousness is that when we want to visualize something and create something, and we sit down and we visualize and we see all these details, if our minds comes in and say that this is not possible, I don't believe this is too good to be true, how do you have some recommendations on how we can meet those thoughts, those negative thoughts that just don't believe in what we want to create?
Sure. Yeah. So let's say you're having a big negative thought about something, and okay, let's just say you want to have a love relationship, and you're far from that, and you've had a lot of like traumatic experiences in relationship. Then it might be very difficult to go from I have traumatic experiences in relationship to I'm in love and with the partner of my life, right? That's a big jump, a big stretch. So instead of going from there, you can just choose something more gentle. Than instead of thinking, okay, I'm going from where I am to having the love of my life, you can go from where you are to I just feel happy where I'm at, or I just feel happy alone. And you start to get comfortable there. I'm like, oh, I feel good. I feel nurtured. I feel supported. And you start to feel the energy, because it's really important to create the frequency and align with the frequency of the feeling and having the experience. So every experience is a frequency, like that you can align with. So there's a frequency that is, I'm in love, I have the partner of my life, I'm living the life of my dreams. That might be a huge stretch from, I'm not in love and I'm, feeling horrible. So you can't go from here to here, right? That's a big stretch, but you can choose, like, what does it feel like? So can I just embody the feeling of, I feel comfortable. I just feel comfortable being me. I'm going to try that on, and you just start to like think about, okay, what would it feel like? If you're not there, it's okay. What would it be like to feel comfortable just being who I am? And then when you start to really feel that and practice that, it starts to feel better and it starts to be true. And you start to embody it. It starts to be your truth. And then you go to, I wonder what it would be like if I was getting attention from, if you're attracted to the opposite sex, from the opposite sex. I wonder what it would be like if a man was just noticing me, and then you find yourself, you go for a walk on the beach and you see somebody looking at you. So like you're catching some energy and you're like, oh, you start to embody that experience. Well, once you've embodied it and you practice it, even if it's not your reality yet, when you practice it enough and you hold the frequency of that, you go out into the world and you start to see the evidence of, oh yeah, it's starting to happen now. And then pretty soon you continue, like, I wonder what it would be like if I actually went out on a date with somebody, and you practice that and how good it would feel to go to a restaurant, and what would you eat and what would you talk about and what would that experience feel like, and imagine it as, in as much detail and feeling experience as you can. And then next thing you know, you're being asked out on a date, and see how one thing leads to another. It could be a fast process if you are really dedicated, but usually it's a gradual process, step by step, embodying a slightly more aligned frequency that's a step closer to your outcome. So for most people, I think that's where they fail in manifestation. It's like, okay, I'm here and I want to be here. Why can't I get there? It's so hard. Well, you gotta chunk it down into small steps, into baby steps sometimes, especially if it's like if you have a relationship trauma, the very first thing you're going to have to do before you have a good relationship is clear that trauma.
So yes, so we actually just got cut off there in the middle of your sentence. I think there's some strong energies going on here, which is always interesting when it comes to, spirituality and expanded consciousness, and all of a sudden the equipment is going like that, which is nothing new.
Right, it happens.
It happens. However, thank you for explaining manifestation from your perspectives, and it makes so much sense. It is kind of complex, and I think that it is part of our spiritual growth. It's not just to manifest this, as manifest that in order to gain something or have this or have that. It is, in a sense, connected to what we're here to learn. Like you're saying, the example of manifesting a beautiful relationship. Well, maybe part of your soul topic, in a sense, something that you're here to expand into, is perhaps loving yourself. So before you love yourself, you're not able to meet that wonderful man that will be your life partner. So there's many layers to this as well. However, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your powerful summit that's coming up. Tell us about it and the idea for it and why you're creating it and the intention behind it and some of the teachers that you're also interviewing.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'd be happy to share about that. Okay, so the summit's name is the Alchemy of Ascension: How to Raise Your Frequency to Connect with Yourself, Your Soulmate, and the Divine. And so it's the underlying essence and purpose of it is about, all of these things that we've been talking about, raising your frequency. And then I have teachers on, such as yourself, that are all people who teach about various different ways to do that. And so with Ascension, I'll just kind of break that down. For me, Ascension is raising your frequency. So Ascension is the idea of the word is bringing it up, but Ascension is what's coming up is your frequency. You're expanding, you're growing in your light, but at the same time, you're releasing some of that baggage, trauma, and darkness that has held you back. And then also Ascension, as we talked about spiritual bypass in the beginning, Ascension isn't just going up and out of your body. It's really about bringing those codes into the body. It's about evolving the mind, body, and spirit together as this trinity, as this union, and then connecting to your soul family to create that ascension and ultimately to shift our reality. And I feel like that's where Ascension is going, where we're drawn, so many of us are drawn to connect with other people, to come into groups, not to work alone anymore. I mean, a lot of us as spiritual workers work alone most of the time, but we're being called out to connect. Like me doing this summit, I'm connecting with so many different teachers and experts and, and influencers that are all part of a whole. We're all part of that whole. And so that is the alchemy of ascension. It's all of us coming together. We are those pieces that are alchemizing into a whole new reality. And so all these different teachers come with their different perspectives. I have so many. I could break down a few and I couldn't possibly tell you everybody. And it's turning into 26 rather than, I think it started at 22. So in addition to you, some of them that I have Jordan River he made Spirit Science. And if you're a YouTuber and you're into spiritual things, you've probably seen Spirit Science. He's doing a lot of other amazing things. He talked about ayahuasca and that journey that has been very powerful in activating his Christ consciousness self, and how we can all do that, how we all have access to that in our various ways. I talked to someone who uses essential oils for ascension. Essential oils are referenced in the Bible, in scripture, in, ancient Egypt. So she has techniques to use essential oils to bring up the frequency of yourself and of your environment. I talked to a twin flame ascension. She talks about the twin flame ascension and how you don't actually have to be physically present with your twin flame partner, but how tuning into the energy of the twin flame can have you activate your spiritual gifts very quickly, and how that's an ascension path in itself. I talked to a pet communicator, animal communicator, and a psychic she's an afterlife expert, Karen Anderson. And she talked about, like how pets and communicating with them, how they can heal us. And Elizabeth Wood, she's seer and scientist. And wow, she is just this multidimensional being that has so much to share. I have Ray Moore coming on. He's a breatharian. He teaches people how to live off the prana. Have you interviewed him?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Say hi from me.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I have him soon. Like, I think his interview's this weekend. So yeah, he's teaches people to live off prana. And I'm so fascinated by that. I can't wait to take one of his workshops one day when the timing aligns for me. I have Christine Breeze. I believe you interviewed her as well. And I'm so excited.
I'm going to, yeah.
Oh, you're going to?
Yeah, because actually, just to mention that, she is the founder of the University of Metaphysical Sciences.
Uh-huh.
It's a school, and I've taken that school. Like, I have a bachelor in her school.
Wow.
Yeah, and now we have connected, and I'm going to interview her, and you're going to interview
Wonderful.
her. So it's always all these synchronicities happening. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I have an Akashic Records expert, Melissa Fike. I have, oh my gosh, the list goes on and on. So, but you can see how it's well-rounded. I'm not coming at it from this is how it is. And I think that I want people to walk away understanding there are so many ways to raise your frequency. There's so many ways to connect with your divine, your divinity, and to evolve. And so all of these different people have all of these different ways that they bring forth that can help us. And you can take the pieces that work for you, and you can take the bits of wisdom, and you can alchemize your own ascension process. Also, Cynthia Ocelli, she's a Hay House author, and she's all about feminine power. Yeah, they're a lot, and it's a lot all at once too, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
I'm so excited about, I mean, since, or I'm part of it, but I will also follow it, of course, because it's a great opportunity. Like you said, to me, that doing these interviews, it's really a gift, because we get to get under the skin of the teachers in a way, and they share other things that they might not necessarily share in a book or share in their talks. It gets more personal in a sense, and wow, a whole month with this, it's a gift. It's a gift.
Yeah, every day for a month in February, or almost, we start the 4th, but yeah, it's going to be a power month for the Ascension training. And it's so much fun. And you know what I also want people to get is it doesn't have to be so serious. And speaking of serious, I also have some ET people talking about like the galactic beings. So there's that aspect as well, and how to connect in with your galactic family.
Yeah, it's part of it. That's one of my personal and favorite topics, is the galactic. I've always been drawn to that, and I think that's coming forward more and more, our multidimensional nature, that's becoming kind of more normal to speak about, which I'm glad, because it's part of the whole. So
it really is. And to cut that out, I mean, like, look at how many of us, I mean, we get our information from higher realms, whether they're guides or celestial beings or deceased loved ones or extraterrestrial star people. I mean, that information is available to us to tune into. Some of us receive it, we're not sure who, some people don't know who it's coming from. Other people are very clear, oh, this comes from here, and this being, and this, and it has a name. And, it's just fun to be able to open up to that. And I feel like the more open-minded you are, the more you're able to work with those frequencies and those beings and angels and celestials. And there's so much more going on than most people can see with their eyes, and we can feel it and we can experience it in such a powerful way. And that, if nothing else, getting to have those experiences is such a great reason to do your shadow work and get past that trauma work, so that you can open up to these experiences.
Yeah, it's important to have some knowledge about it, and knowing, I find that on this path, if we go by it all by ourselves, we might not understand what is happening to us. And it's so good to learn from teachers who have, gone that path and can say, you can expect this and you can expect that. And then you don't know, or then that you're not going insane in a way, because the awakening process is very different for all of us. For some of us, it's a rapid growth. For others, it's more slow, and knowing that everything is normal and that this can happen and that can happen, that's, I think, is then you feel more not as afraid, going into fear when these things starts to happen. Thank you so much, Waxela. Yeah,
Waxela, yes.
Waxela, yes. And good luck with the summit. I'm so excited about it. And thank you for showing up today.
Thank you so much. And have a wonderful time with your soul retreat. Soul's
Thank you.
Purpose. What is it? Soul's Calling.
Soul's Calling online retreat.
Online retreat. I imagine that's going to be wonderful, and I'd love to tune into that. It's simultaneous with my summit airing, but I will get in there as much as possible.
And for the dedicated, sorry?
I love your work.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And for the real dedicated one, you can do both.
Yes, you can do both. You can do it all.
Yeah.
Time is an illusion.
It really is. Thank you so much, and all the best to you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for watching, and remember to shine the light that you are. Much light from the US and Norway. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please subscribe and click the thumbs up and click the bell in order to get notifications of my new videos. Now I also have a free gift for you. If you want to become a conscious co-creator, you can click on my free meditation below called Meet Your Future Self, where you have the possibility to co-create with the highest future version of you.